eye opener. When your largest foreign expense is your military, what are you exporting? Intuitively, I would say the biggest export of the government of the United States is war. I know that American leadership has justified military intervention in various countries as humanitarian or in support of spreading democracy. In the end, however, these reasons never seem to be reflected in the outcomes. In instances like Libya, under the urging of his then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, President Obama sent in American forces to help overthrow the dictator Muammar Gaddafi. The rationale given was that it was the humanitarian thing to do. The result, however, was that Libya went from one of the most prosperous nations in Africa to one that hosts open slave markets. America's interference caused Africa's most prosperous democracy to descend into chaos for a generation. Similarly, American interference assisted in the removal of the democratically elected leader of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, in 1953. And there has since been nothing but turmoil in the Middle East in general, and conflict between the United States and Iran specifically. In other instances, America supplied weapons to so-called freedom fighters in Afghanistan that were effective against Russia's military, which prolonged the Afghan-Russo War, which should sound very similar to the Ukraine-Russia war today. And in case you didn't know this, one of the freedom fighters that America supported in Afghanistan was Osama bin Laden. And we all know how that collaboration worked out. Then there's Iraq. In Iraq, Saddam Hussein met his final fate at the end of a hangman's noose. While Saddam was an evil dictator, he never initiated a military attack against America, which George W. Bush knew before attacking that country. Another fact being that Bush refused to allow independent investigators time to determine whether there were weapons of mass destruction which had not been found prior to American forces moving against Iraq. George W. Bush not only ignored these facts, but joked about not finding weapons of mass destruction at a correspondence dinner. And serving as the icing on this very disturbing cake of mass murder was all of the laughter that erupted from the reporters at that correspondence dinner. Instead of serving as the fourth estate or last line of defense for the masses, those reporters laughed about lies that led to the deaths of between 400 and 600,000 Iraqis, while over 4,400 Americans died. The irony and real tragedy is that only 2,977 Americans died during the attacks on 9/11. Looking back further, there was Madeleine Albright's justification of 500,000 Iraqi children deaths in the name of American humanitarianism. George H.W. Bush used the lies of a Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter who was coached by the largest public relations firm in the world at the time to gain popular support for war against Iraq before his son ignored all evidence contrary to the need to attack Iraq. American military interference has yet to fix the world, but has served to collapse governments across the planet. To even utter the words American defense is an oxymoron because rarely has America been attacked on its own shores while it has been at war since World War II, and probably longer. One of the biggest ironies related to America's endless wars is that the United States hasn't won a war since World War II. It has, however, created chaos as it continually tries to push democracy through force, an oxymoron in and of itself. This it did wherever America's leadership didn't like a country's democratically elected leader. And as it praises the veterans who have fought in its wars, America fails to support the over 32,000 homeless vets. That's 11 times more people than died during the 9/11 attacks. Not only does America seem to be a hypocritical contradiction, but it looks like an instance of life imitating art as it seemingly takes a page from the book 1984. This claim has merit because America seems to be rewriting or whitewashing its history. Remember when Michelle Obama befriended G.W. Bush? Remember when Ellen DeGeneres sat at a baseball game with George W. Bush and bragged about it? It's as if America has a ministry of truth which is tasked with changing the meanings of words or phrases as it re-edits newspapers from months or years past to make a narrative align with the current leadership. The exact opposite of what you see with your eyes or hear with your ears is true. Black is white, up is down. Neither Biden nor the laws he wrote targeting people of color are racist. Biden never got lost on a stage. He never had note cards telling him where to sit, when to pause or clap. A person in an Easter bunny costume never stopped Biden from talking and redirected him at a function. A video link of the most powerful man in the world being interrupted and redirected by someone in an Easter bunny costume is provided below. Again. With America's military budget being its largest foreign budget, how could anyone say that America's biggest export is anything other than war? And don't get me started on how the Pentagon has failed every audit that scrutinized its spending. But allow me to preface the above claim with this. America's biggest official and officially recognized budget is its military at $1 trillion this year alone. What may be the most ironic thing about America's military adventurism is that we are the world's bully, but we always seem to get beat up by the little kids on the playground. Name a country America has defeated. I'll wait. Name a benefit to which American intervention has led. I'll wait. Name a country other than Israel that has benefited from American interference. I'll wait. In the meantime, check out all of the links below to see how American hegemony has done way more harm than good around the planet. It's all been documented on the internet, but our leaders don't even try to hide their malfeasance because they know we're not paying attention. There are plenty of blogs, news and websites reporting and complaining about our leaders and their failures. How many, however, are offering or even pointing to any solutions? The book Solutions. Enough Complaining. Let's Fix America by Chris Osman does, and it can be found on Amazon or at www.mikesonsentertainment.com. To find out other ways you're being screwed by your current leaders, check out the posts on this blog daily. Learn about the biggest and worst issues that America and its people face today. You can also check into this blog daily to hear about those issues that America and its people will face in the near and distant future. If, however, you would like to discover possible solutions to either mitigate the worst impacts of these issues or solutions to avoid them altogether, keep listening. The problems we face are not as complicated as so many leaders and news reports claim. They are man-made and are only claimed as complicated so those who are responsible can maintain control. For example, there is a persistent argument that moving government is like turning a cruise ship around. It is supposedly a long process that can only be achieved incrementally. While this may be true for laws and policies that benefit the majority of Americans, it does not seem to be so for that smallest of American minorities. When one examines the policies and laws that benefit that minority known as the elite or the rich, the speed at which those laws are passed is exponentially faster. While most of us sit on the deck chairs waiting for the Titanic to avoid the myriad of icebergs of which we seem to continually run afoul, the elite ride comfortably in speedboats. If, according to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, why do the rich live quite different lives than the rest of us? Where is our speedboat? In 2018, Chris Osman wrote a book highlighting the problems humanity would face if more power, wealth, and control were funneled to a small group of individuals, groups, or organizations. In that book, Mr. Osman provides solutions, offered up from himself and others, to the inevitable problems we would all face. In it, he also provided a means for the public to analyze, compare, and contrast the words and deeds of those we've chosen to follow against our real-world experiences. To this end, Mr. Osman provides the means for readers to disseminate information as provided by their news sources of choice, their elected officials, and any other authority they choose to follow. The book, titled Solutions. Enough Complaining. Let's Fix America offers a means to hold leaders up, not just to a higher standard than is currently accepted, but to one that will improve lives. A war pig in lipstick is still a war pig? Click the link below and get your copy of Solutions today.